students, welcome to Social Science class. Today let us start History another lesson, lesson number 4, Ancient Civilization. In this lesson you have to understand about the river valleys and the progress of the prominent civilization of the world and the important political history of Egypt, Mesopotamia and Harappan civilization and their contributions, and know the city-states of Greek civilization and their contribution, the achievements of Julius Caesar and Augustus Caesar of the Roman civilization. Now let us start the lesson. The prominent civilizations were Egypt, Mesopotamia, China, Greek, Roman and Harappa. You all know that food, water, air and light are inevitable. Inevitable means unavoidable for our life to survive. So similarly, shelter and clothing also are the basic necessity for the human beings. Generally, we can get water and favorable weather condition on the banks of the river for leading the life. So prehistoric people settled on the banks of the river and later civilization established in these regions. So the river banks became in this way we can say the river banks as the cradle of the ancient civilization. Cradle of ancient civilization means basic of the ancient civilization. Egyptian civilization is on the bank of Nile river. Mesopotamian civilization on the banks of Euphrates and Tigris. Chinese civilization on the banks of Huanghe, Yangtze and Sikyang, and Harappan civilization was on the banks of the river Indus. Now let us start the civilization. First one is the Egyptian civilization. Today in this class, I am going to discuss about Egyptian civilization and Mesopotamian civilization. Egyptian civilization. Egypt is the first civilization of the ancient world, and this civilization took birth on the banks of the river Nile. Nile is regarded as the longest river in the world, and Nile is the north flowing river which joins the Mediterranean Sea. If the Nile had not flown through the Egypt, it would have been a desert. So the Egypt is considered as the gift of Nile. Now, political history of Egypt. Egypt witnessed the rise of political dynasties about 5,400 years ago. The king of Egypt were called as pharaohs. Menes was the first pharaoh. His capital was Memphis. Among all the pharaohs after Menes, Khufu, Amenhotep and Thomas were prominent. Egypt is also famous for pyramids. The largest pyramid of Giza is called the Great Pyramid of Khufu, which was built by Khufu. Thutmose first was the greatest conqueror among all the pharaohs. His daughter Hatshepsut came to power after him and came to be known as the Empress of the world. Finally, about 2,300 years ago, Alexander the Great conquered Egypt. He appointed Ptolemy as his representative. Later, Ptolemy declared himself as the king of the Egypt and established Ptolemaic dynasty. Popular Queen Cleopatra was the last ruler of this dynasty. Eventually, Egypt became the province of Rome. Now the contribution of Egyptian civilization. Wheat and barley were the food crops. The water of Nile was used for the agriculture through canals. The condition of slaves was very pathetic. Women were given important status. The people of Egypt believed in life after death, so they preserved the dead body as mummy. In ancient Egypt, each city had its own guardian and goddess. Sun and rivers were worshipped as gods. The Egyptian script is called as hieroglyphic. which means sacred writing. They used ink to write on papyrus grass growing in the river Nile. They had enormous knowledge of geometry, which was used in building huge pyramids. The large statue of Sphinx is the most attractive Egyptian architecture. It is an animal with a body of lion and head of a man. Next one is Mesopotamian civilization. This civilization flourished in the area that lies in a valley between the Tigris and Euphrates River in modern Iraq. In Greek, Mesopotamia means the land between the two rivers. This region was ruled by Sumerian, Babylonian, Hittites, Assyrians and Neo-Babylonians. Now political history. Sumerians were responsible for one of the first civilizations in this region. Ur, Kish and Lachish were the important city-states that flourished here. Sumerians used cuneiform system of writing on the wet clay slates. Mesopotamians were in contact with the Indians. The Akkadians ruled after Sumerians. They were conquered and destroyed by the barbarians. They were later Amorites, another Semitic tribe ruled from Babylonia. They brought the Akkadian state under their control and established a large state. Hammurabi. He is the most famous king among Babylonians. He was famous for his code of laws. His code of law was based on his idea like an eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. A Babylonian ruler was followed by Kassite and Hittite races. Ashurbanipal. He was a brave warrior and a poet. Ashurbanipal was the last great king of Assyrians. Assyrians defeated Hittites and ruled Mesopotamia. He founded a royal library at Nineveh. Nebuchadnezzar. After Assyrians, another Semitic tribe, that is Chaldeans, re-established Babylonia. Nebuchadnezzar was the greatest king. He created Hanging Garden, which was one of the 7 wonders of the world. Finally, about 2500 years ago, Emperor Cyrus conquered the Babylonia, which resulted in the downfall of Mesopotamia. The contribution of Mesopotamian civilization. Mesopotamians were the first to adopt the code of laws in the world. They had trade relations with the Harappans and Egyptians. Each city had a guardian deity as in Egypt. High-raised temples named Ziggurat were built. Cuneiform script was used by these people. Gilgamesh is a great epic poem of Mesopotamians. And I hope you all have understood these two civilizations, Egyptian and Mesopotamian civilization. Next class, I will give you notes of the Egyptian civilization and Mesopotamian civilization. Thank you, students.